Okay, let's get settled. Sure, can someone check if it's working fine so I can get started? Okay, sounds good. Thanks. So, yeah, now we're going to start. It's 2019 already, but yeah, guys, can we, Johnny? Yeah, just pay attention. Market back this thing. Okay, so let's get started. Remember we looked at three things: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we're going to look at those because they not necessarily help you data mine or data engineer or integration of such nature, but they help you a lot because why? Why does that help you a lot? Why does HTML help you a lot? Yes.
It helps you build websites. Also helps if you need to scrape data so you can understand what tags mean which and which parts are under which pair tags.
Bingo. Yeah, scraping is important. As a data scientist, getting information scraped from outside. There are various ways you can fetch that information, right? API calls is one of the things, right? So APIs, but sometimes people are not generous enough to give you API calls that have that ready for you to consume. So you can scrape that information. If that's ethical, legal, and whatnot, right? So if you can do that, then all these websites you see, Kayak and stuff like that, they were big scrapers. They would just go and scrape everything, Priceline. They would go scrape. Now that's how they started, and they kind of sometimes force these companies to then create APIs for their consumption, right? So it kind of starts a good cycle because if you can give someone a monetization model of certain kind, then people will let you. So HTML, CSS, how did CSS change your life, Safwan? What did it do? Why?
Made it more beautiful.
Made it more beautiful. What else? Our life was beautiful. Yes, Johnny?
You can use a multitude of templates.
Templates, yeah. And one of the key things that we learned in that family was what did we learn in CSS family that could like templatize our ease of our web development efforts. Which technology or what did we learn that made it easy for us?
You mean for HTML?
Yeah.
Bootstrap?
Bootstrap, yeah, exactly. Bootstrap. And then those curious people that were trying to do a drop down from Bootstrap, you remember that I gave some of you at least an example of using a jQuery. So if you have a jQuery, then you are actually adding interactivity to your Bootstrap. You probably explored that on your own, and you had to have the jQuery code, the CDN, in your code to have it, that drop down actually work as a drop down and do things. So that's Java query, right? And so JS, JavaScript is kind of a similar way of adding more interactivity to your websites, right? So make it more beautiful, but also and not just beautiful, but interactive, right? So you want actions to happen on your website, but at the core of it is Java. And what it helps you do is really code things in almost everything that you can do in Python or any other programming language. You can use JavaScript for that, just to do it. So it just not gets limited to that portion, right? I'm going to actually break up the class because given the 2 days, we decided as a team to come up with a plan, and the plan is that since we're going to have this Martin Luther King Day as a shutdown here in UCSD, and so we're going to cover up everything that we need to. And so the part of that was like, hey, you have extra time to work on your ETL project on Saturday anyway, so you're not really taking away anything. So you use that time for do finish up those activities, but what we were going to learn on Saturday gets preponed. So I'm going to use some of this lecture and another lecture in the future to cover up and cover everything, right? Again, as we know, these are the 5 things that any programming language you need to know, right? To effectively do things. If you can master these things, not just conceptually, you have to master them once, right? Once you know what arrays are, then you know what arrays are, right? What are arrays, Shefali? What are arrays?
You can say like combinations together,
Combinations of what together?
letters or numbers.
Okay. So it's a series of either letters or numbers or anything. Series of arrays and series of like objects or quantities, right? And so that's that. So you probably learned that in VBA and any other programming language if you have that. What are conditionals? Will, what are conditionals?
Conditional.
Yeah.
Like if this and that.
If, else if, while loops, case statements. Yes.
Is it try conditional? Try statement?
Try is a conditional. Yeah, try that. If exceptions. All of those are conditionals, right? Okay, so you get this. Loops we know which
Repeated process.
was that.
Repeated process.
Repeated process. For loop is the most commonly used, right? So there's a difference between if statement and a for statement, right? For keeps you iterate through. Similarly, functions and objects, right? So functions call other things. Objects hold values and retrieve values. So anyway, so these things are again fundamentals of any programming language, not just JavaScript, right? This is what you learn if you want to learn a programming language, and the concept remains the same. What changes is the syntax, right? So again, JavaScript, there is a in a full stack class, right? Full stack when you're learning everything, you probably spend a lot of time learning JavaScript and programming other things with using. We're going to spend almost a week with it. Trust me, it's one of those things again, like, we could have spent a month learning HTML, a month learning CSS, and then a month learning JavaScript, right? Or more even. JavaScript's a little more advanced than what we're going to touch here. Again, very important for us to know that this is a data science bootcamp. So these skills will be mostly useful for you to work with the team on site or with you, being with someone that has more experience with JavaScript. But if you are given a code, the goal of your exercise for this next week is not to pressure yourself under syntax. It's required for your homework, but you can literally copy paste JavaScript also from other working templates, like from Bootstrap, right? You add the jQuery and then it lets you do a lot of stuff. Similarly, we're going to build the concepts here. You should be able to read without hesitation any JavaScript code in front of you, but it opens up a world of things for you, right? It helps you build actions on your dashboard. Like for example, if you hover over certain thing, it'll do something. Remember, we're trying to add the interactivity piece now, right? We've created a beautiful working model of something, but we are adding batteries to this toy and let it go. So that's what. So it will help you build like all these cool visualizations, and that's D3. Okay, so we're going to learn D3 as a separate module. So don't worry about how we do this. And again, as we did with everything else, I'm going to start building some concepts, some syntax, and then you're going to really, this is a juncture where you will go from, truth telling to storytelling, right? So we're making a shift here. We're halfway in the program. We learned a lot of Python, a lot of coding. Now we're going to start looking at D3. We're going to look at Tableau is coming up soon. So don't forget, Johnny helped us put together a really, really good document on how to get a free Tableau license which is typically $2,000 work for an entire year, right? So as a student, so do not miss out on it. Definitely go get your license. So when we get to Tableau, or even before then, if you have Tableau license, I think I have built enough concepts in you that you can start looking at Tableau's online videos and build some basic understanding. If everybody's on that, I can take you to some advanced journey with Tableau or something, right? That's one of the enterprise tools I use every day almost. So it's really hard, it's really in demand, skills are in demand, and if you're good with numbers and with creating dashboards, that's one thing that I would tell you that is hot right now. So anyway, so this is what you can do with the JavaScripts, and as I said, we're moving towards visualization. So we'll look at a lot of stuff. And again, it is used almost everywhere, right? So with these knowledge and concepts, I mean, you're learning pretty powerful stuff. Class, beautiful soup, all these techniques put together. I can tell you that you can start buying these kits on Amazon. There are IoT kits, right? So they sell that on Amazon, and you can start creating your own sensors and ways to consume data. I know people that have started not scraping, but consuming data out of the Nest APIs and build like triggers for their phones and stuff like that using all these technologies. So think of a good application. Again, not to take you guys through this right now, but deeplearn.js, deep learning, machine intelligence, and all the TensorFlows is also based on these concepts. Okay, so these concepts, without this basic understanding, you're not going anywhere. Okay, just if you have, how many have worked with here in this room have worked with JavaScript before? Okay, Marcus, Nada. Okay, yeah, so that's good. But you really need to know these concepts well to go further. Anyway, so this is, let's say, there's a lot to learn. Okay, there are a lot of tools. Okay, that you can use to.
That's what I thought about Python.
What?
In the libraries.
What's that?
That's what I thought about.
Yeah,
Python
yeah. So you will have that again. You have
Right.
there is a lot out there, and it's good. Lot is good only when it's organized in a proper way. So we're gonna start slow. We're gonna start building this really slow, and hopefully we have something beautiful that we can build. Okay, so okay, couple of tips, and I'm hoping that you guys are doing this with not just JavaScript, but with everything, right? So review immediately, right? So whatever you learn, there may be times when we are doing a lot of walkthroughs of the code because actually some of these exercises, if you haven't worked with JavaScript before, if I just show you one and then ask you to do another, it's still going to be very difficult. So we'll look at a lot of stuff, but go practice it at home. Okay, literally delete the code and write it again. Okay, if you have time and that kind of intonation, and if you really want to learn this stuff good and go into machine learning and be hardcore programmer on some of the neural network and deep learning stuff, all visualizations using D3.js. Definitely look at this. Redo the exercises in class, get some help. We have office hours as well as TAs have, and don't be afraid. Again, I want to emphasize, don't worry about the syntax. Okay, 90% of the time you're going to copy it from somewhere. Even if you're in an enterprise environment, you're going to look at someone else's code. It's unlikely that you will start from nothing and you will have to create everything from scratch. Though we'll learn how to do it, I'm telling you that even if you don't have inclination, just don't ignore it. Start building the concept. So with that, let's start looking at how this stuff looks like. Any questions before we move on? Anything that comes to your mind, like why are we learning this? No, okay, good. And so did you, Nolan and Cassandra, have you slacked the exercises and stuff like that yet? Okay, you guys have it?
You can pull, you should be able to do a git pull and you should get all of the JavaScript content.
Thank you. So you have that. I'll give you a minute to explore that. Let's see. So let's go really slow because now I think I actually do have some luxury to run a little slower than initially I was thinking, because we're going to use some of the ETL hours with this, and then you guys are going to do the ETL project on Saturday. So, okay, there are a couple of things that you need to know about JavaScript, right? So what we're going to do overall today is going to look at how to do it. We're going to compare Python and JavaScript. We're going to build some programs to use actually functions and stuff. But the key ideas are loops, right? So remember that we'll get to loops. There's a student exercise in functions and how do you evoke functions. I don't think we will go through all of this today. Maybe we will. We'll see how the class flows. Really want everyone to be comfortable with this idea and how things are done, really. So, so let's see. So we have, let me start with the within HTML, okay? So this is the easiest thing, right? So you have an HTML page, right? That you had written, however long it is. H1 is the header, there was a body and all that stuff. Whatever you want to do, you have to use this tag called script. You might have encountered this tag called script when you were scraping things, right? You looked at this script tag and probably that's the tag that you use for JavaScript, okay? You're telling what type of script it is here, right? And then you're going in and console.log, okay? Console.log is really the print statement, okay? Console.print doesn't print it. Console.print actually prints it, like prints it. If I do console.print and run it, it actually will ask to print to the print, like the print function, control P function, right? This one, console.log, is showing this, okay? So log is that. So that's the simplest Java code, right? And so if I were to open this in my browser, it will open like this. Open the console, open the Chrome inspector or console, right? And that's not this. That is just the header. Okay? And it's asking me to open the inspector console because if you open the inspector console, if you go here and inspect, right? And you can follow along with me if you want. That's fine. And if you hit console, this is where actually the script is sending its log to. Okay, the console is the interactive check, right? So if you go to console, you have my script is stored within the HTML, and that's the script that we have within the HTML. Okay. Is that clear? So what it did was it actually to your console. So interactivity check is what we do with the console. So everything that you do to test it out, you're going to go to console and test it.
For some reason mine is not, I don't have the, I don't have the JavaScript one.
Really? Okay. So is that clear? So now you were able to send this to console. If you check if your previous web pages where you don't have JavaScript, you know, this is not there. This is what's missing. The interactivity is missing. Okay. So now let's just look at another way of doing it. And there is you can script it within the HTML code. Rarely someone will do that. Okay. Rarely people want to do it within the body of their HTML code. You will typically have a separate file called app.js or a JavaScript file. It can be named anything you want. You just have to give which source, where the source is coming from. So earlier you were doing script, you were telling type is JavaScript, and then you were writing literally what you want to pass to the console. And here you're just saying source, where is this file coming from? It's coming from app.js. Again, you can name it whatever you want. If there's a longer path for this file, then there will be longer path for the file. Just have to keep it on your server, web server, and then that's it. And if I open this, again, the header will show up. It will say open the Chrome Inspector console with just a header. And then when I open it, go to console. Again, you see now here the difference is it's telling you that it's coming from app.js. That's the file it's coming from. And then when I'm invoking that, I'm getting the same. This is now my script is stored outside of my HTML. So this is like the hello world of this JavaScript. So this is a basic 2 ways of evoking it. Within the HTML, you can write that code script and then script it, or you can go outside of it and then have an app.js file and then do it that way. Okay, so that's just how simple stuff works here, right? So before we move forward, let's just do a quick comparison on, and again, feel free to follow with me, but I'm not gonna run this code in the Jupyter notebook. We know Python really well, at least to understand this line of, these lines of code, right? So it's easy to know that x equal to 1 is the value that we are assigning to variable x. Y equal to 10 is the value we're assigning to variable y, okay? That's how this Python code starts. And then we're checking things, right? So if x is equal to 1, which is true, it will print x is equal to 1. So this is just the syntax of your Python code. X is not equal to 1, then print y is not equal to 1, and so on and so forth. So these are your Python statements, series of Python statements, okay? And let's say you wanted to create a JavaScript code that did something similar. Okay, so what it did, what you wanted to do is create these two variables, assign some values, do some conditional checking, as we're doing in Python, do some printing, right? And we learned just now that print is console.log, and we also learned that assignment variable is possibly possible. We don't know how. Okay, so in that case, let's look at first the HTML and how you will write the HTML. Again, pretty simple. And again, HTML, as I told you, is very smart, right? So you don't have to say that the type is JavaScript. Okay, you can skip that piece. You can just go source and HTML will compile. If the file engine .js, it knows that, oh, it's a JavaScript. Okay, so you can simplify your code. You know, for those who are still probably thinking, what is this? You don't have to say type equal to text / JavaScript. That's optional, really, because your HTML, remember, it can correct itself, right? It has the internal compiler checks that look for these things. So here, I'm not even saying type. I'm just saying source is equal to conditional check.js. So typically, that's what you would do. JavaScript is a Java code that is almost, let's say, Python-like. There's no different language. It's a Java language, right? So as long as you know the concepts, you should be able to grasp them really fast. So this is it. This is how it will look. There are very minor differences, but they are key differences. So for example, in Python, you could say x equal to 1, y equal to 10, and that's it. You could leave it, right? So they say that Python is the easiest language because it's trying to get closer to English, right? And JavaScript is, I don't think, is that much more different. But here you have to call and specify that x is a variable. Y is a variable. And variable, how you say it? By var, by saying VAA. So I'm going to start comparing these two. So that's it. So that covered me. There's another difference that you see, that if you write too much Python, you don't have to do those semicolons to specify that I'm going to go to the next step, right, to the compiler. In JavaScript, in a lot of languages, actually C, C++, you have to have that semicolon at the end. Now, JavaScript is also getting really smart. Sometimes I've seen, like, I don't even specify the semicolon. It still knows that what I'm trying to do, as long as it's properly written, and it kind of fills in the blanks for you. But the best practice is really to do that. Okay. Again, the assignments. Okay. that triple equal to is actually a must-have value. So this has to be 1. Okay. We'll probably come across a double equal to, and I forget. So there is double equal to, which is it'll come to me. Let's see what happens. But this means x equal to is like must be 1. Has to be absolute assignment. Does anyone remember what double equal to is? Yes. What is double?
If you use double equals in JavaScript, JavaScript will attempt type coercion. It will try to convert your arguments into objects of the same type. So if you have a string containing the character 1, and you compare it to the integer 1, it will say that they are the same. If you use double.
Yeah. So
if you use triple equals, it will say they are different because one is an integer and one is a string.
yes.
In some cases, would you ever want to do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you an example. The case would be like, let's say I don't know if the user is going to pass a character or is going to pass a number, right? So if someone, for some reason, not user, but let's say if I'm going to pass it from a database and I want to say that if x is integer 1, then and only then type x is equal to 1, okay? But if someone had done this in the database, then this will fail, right? Because if I had equal to 1, that means I'm expecting x to be a character 1, and it's not a character, right? Because it's an integer up here. Okay, this is true when x is this. Okay, if x is not a character, then that's the difference. So this is really useful. No, but so a lot of people just do double equal to, but triple equal to must be equal to an integer 1. Okay. Then that's it, and then print is replaced by console.log, which is again an inherent function in JavaScript that will just print the whatever is in between the double quotes. Again, don't forget the semicolon, and if you compare this with Python, you don't have to have. There are subtle differences. If then, right, then is that 2 dots. If x equal to 1, and here you don't have that. So I think an easier way, at least for me, what has worked over the years is to remember if you're learning another language, just to get over that syntax. I feel like there's so much that doesn't change between languages, right? So if you remember, okay, well, in here you have colon in the next line, or a semicolon that takes you there. It kind of creates this relational map between things, and at least that works for me as a mapping of things. And so just remember that semicolon, curly braces, those are required things in JavaScript. If you miss the curly braces, then I don't think it will compile. Yes.
So what's your point about the triple equal? So when we have two equal, it's usually like we convert it to kind of logical comparison, and we have two and true or false and false, and the result is. So in the case of triple, what does it compare? Like, it's still true or false, it's still logical?
It's still going to return true or false.
Okay.
It's just a question of how that comparison is. If you use double equals, it's going to try to convert them to the same type. If you use triple equals, when the objects are different types, it will return false. Does that make sense?
And how is it different than the equal? One equal?
The output is.
So you'll never use it.
No, you will never use it in conditional. One equal is assignment, right? So telling you that this is equal to. Okay. Good discussion there. So this is of course not equal to and less than equal to. So this is like conditional. But you see, there's not much to learn once you know it has to be an if, there has to be a condition, and then in curly braces you need to give the print statement, but print here is console.log, and then and then after that you have to have a semicolon and then close the curly braces and then move on. Okay.
This looks easy now. I'm just waiting for you guys to throw me something.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, I think you're gonna do fine because see you'll see this difference once you build your programming understanding overall. And as a data scientist or as an numerical like manipulation and creation of these dashboards and stuff, you don't need to know these programming functions, all that stuff to that level of detail. You'll have a full stack team or DevOps team that would do a lot of stuff for you in terms of how these things are set up. So I really don't think that you need to use JavaScript unless you have all the responsibilities on you, right? So front-end responsibilities or making sure, but it's good to know. I mean, it's really good to know if you're going to start. Couple other things. This is an AND statement, right? Oh, sorry, this is an OR statement either, and this is AND, double ampersand is an AND statement. So X is 1 and Y is 10, then both values are true. So that's correct. This is OR if X is less than 45, which is true, and Y is less than 5, which is false. One or the other statement were true, etc., etc. Okay. So that's that. I think we looked at less than equal to, greater than, less than, not equal to. Let's now look at if-else statement, right? If-else statement, and there could be nested if-else statement. What do you think that means? Up in nested if-else. What would be a nested if-else?
Well, if you have a if statement, and then once that condition is met, then you have within there, you have other conditions. So then you have else's. Well, you could do else, and you could also probably do more if, keep nesting underneath.
Well, if the first condition isn't met, then else do this thing.
Correct. And then another if the whole thing is met, then
Yeah.
do another subset within it. These kind of can get tricky, right? So
Yeah.
nested if-else can get tricky. But let's just look at a simple if-else statement. Right? So if Y is less than 5, then print this, and then else if Y is equal to 5, then print this, else print this. So if I ran this piece of code, what do you think will get printed? So if Y is less than 5, I just want an answer from someone in the class. I was printing. Can everyone see this first of all? Which one of these will be printed?
Y equals 10.
The last one will get printed, right? But you see, I hope that's just not because you didn't read this and this is true. That the true statement will get printed in this case, but it's just because it will start searching here, right? It will start this and then say, no, this is not what this. Else if here, and else if, else there. So else if lets you go to another thing, right? And so here is a nested example. I want you guys to read this and try to understand. Again, don't just read the statement and say that the true one will print, but think like a computer and think which one will get printed. And I mean, why would the last one get? Or what will get printed really? Last one will get printed. So if I don't want to print any of these, what would change that?
You don't want to print any of them. They'll do it. Oh, you don't want to.
X is greater than
Absolutely accurate. So if you change this one If you say x is greater than 10, we'll just not want to do anything in that loop. You see what nested if statement does? You don't even look at this piece of code. If for example, enter the site if you are above 18, and you know, if you don't want to enter that, you add that and somebody created that action, then that's it. Boom, close the whole thing. Okay, so something like that. But conceptually, at least. So
Wait, you would do that just if you were adding to it, or just when would you do that?
what?
When would you add something like that?
Something like that. Let's say you have a big compilation to be done, right? So let's say you're doing some computation based on age of the user, right? So if I said, if the user is, if you, let's say you're trying to make a kid-friendly website, or if the user age is greater than 10, then skip all of this.
Oh, skip all of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it doesn't have to compile all that code, right? So it could be very powerful. That's just an example of things. So again, if you go to W3 schools, or if you go to any online repository, there are a lot of like examples. Try those examples, get familiar with it. When we get to D3, I think you will probably have higher skills in overall. But is this clear what it's doing? It's very Python-like. It's not much different.
The last one, wouldn't you have to put an else after that initial if, since you changed, you added that initial if?
Which one?
The last Q tip.
Okay.
I was wondering, like, wouldn't you have to, I mean, it's indented, so I guess. you would-
Yeah, no, what you're saying is, no, you don't have to, because this is not if else. This is if with, and then if else in there. So if statement can be a standalone statement.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just not true, and so it won't compile any of it. Okay, so let's try this. So this is your conditional check.js. So typically you'll see and start visiting web pages now and start looking at the JavaScript statements, and you will see that a lot of, almost everyone uses it to do a lot of stuff, right? So here, the way to compile and see these things is inspect and then go to console. And you see how it's giving you output of all those things. Again, it returns your cursor so you can look for the things, but there's really not an input that it's asking for. But these statements were printed because of that, because it went through all those loops, etc. Okay.
So it prints inside the inspect element.
Yeah, and console, because it's actually an action based on that page. Right?
Oh, so we see everything that it did in the background.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes.
The brain.
Yeah.
The brain.
Right, the brain. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break. 15 minutes. Be back in 15, and then we'll do the next piece. Okay. If you guys wanna catch up on your project and do that. No. So you got all this.
So as long as we say that, you know, we got to right? Like, it's pretty small. Just make sure to, you get rid of and then even that should be fine. It's a decent representative sample size. Yeah, we don't even use it. We just tweak them. But it's like Saturdays. Instead of carrying the data science carrying the website. So like which one has like the most data science job? Yeah, so like which one has like more in-depth things? You get to how many were returned? Exactly. It can all come up. But it doesn't matter, right? It's like, oh, but yeah, like it's just as long as you're able to write the content. Yeah. They should have Exactly. So I feel like as a backup plan, it's like a Saturday and we are still struggling on getting the description. We have this all the time. We have a couple options.
So we have till Saturday to print in this project.
Yeah.
And you want us to use the original presentation?
Yeah.
We can do whatever data we can get that's common throughout the website. Exactly. Yeah, just let's lots of simple.
Your guys' website.
Yeah, go for it. You want to just go ahead and do it? Yeah.
It's gonna recommend block and stuff, and I just want to.
Yes, your block stores. Yeah, what they always say is that block stores can be fickle. It really can't happen necessarily. I'll go with this, but I'll come back.
Obviously, makes not.
Different services, some are fully up, some are fully down. It all comes down to how funding is distributed. No, just funding.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
I'm playing around with them.
Yeah.
Really good at notice. I thought that you might know. Because as you can see that the rank, it goes from 1 to 0, then to
USGS.
what I'm talking about, right? And it's 1, the other 0 should be 2.
They're not.
How do you rank it the way it should be instead of using 1, it's from 0, 2.
No, I've never looked at, so we use a tool called Artlist. By the way, that also gives you one. That's the one, that's much more powerful than Tableau. Yeah. I'll show you. Yeah.
There's also, what do you say?
Yeah, it gives free 1 year for, you can trigger that.
Yeah.
This is much more powerful than Tableau. Yeah. It's 1, 1, 2 now. No, it's not better. It's Tableau Prep, which means the data to put in the That's why nobody has all been around for 2 years. So everybody uses it.
No, that's good. I just want people to play around with it. And then 1 to 10. So, well, I pulled it from here. Yes. No.
So right now,
That is nothing but just
Right. No, that's one of the fields that was a full-time.
yeah, but then one of two or one of three.
Right. Yeah, what I want to do is I want to do rank it as file. And then X, so from the X axis is outbound and
This one
is then Y signs.
This one is from
Execution.
And then
It says right here, airborne, there's no execution while.
Short by, here we go. A to the,
Or that might be. And then this.
okay, one of two. Food and drink is avoided. Right.
Look it up on my computer.
Food and avoided.
So whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, there, right? The 100 should be down there. It should be ranked how. One, two, three.
Does anyone have asked?
But the 1 to 3 equals here, they go, actually what you can do is, because there's one of like food and drinking aware, there will be, two of you.
So basically, we'll start specifically this, make it a different one.
No, not specifically. You can split the column after.
Yeah.
Have it split subject to. Split after the last one.
Okay.
There will be the string. Okay, split the column. First thing, remove the hashtag. Separate the hashtag. Yeah, remove the hashtag. Remove say oh, yeah, that is possible. Do remove it? Yeah. So now it broke your right now.
Oh my God. Wait, I know, it's punctuation.
And you can just I'm on those certain others, and if you attempt to write some data, it will just make the data.
No, it's just like, yeah, or whatever, I think.
I just need to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I find out.
It's the only thing.
Yeah.
They have a lot of what to do this.
Yeah, I was going out to going around. You know, the videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And then pull it from the database and grab it.
All right.
If you don't need to pull it from the database, then it would be better. Yeah.
I'm cleaning it now.
I'll show you here's an example, does it? There's another example on here. Well, the thing is, my plan is to plot, my plan is to plot Russia, China, USA, all in one plot, but my plan is to do PLT subplot, and then plot show that all of these.
Okay, yeah, no. So right now. My name, all this other stuff. Right now, I'm trying to fix the rankings. Right now, it's like, you know, there's
And then we need to create our presentation. We're gonna combine the.
as you can see, that's the way it's going by
Outside resources.
that's what your number, not
Like reading
normal.
this partially in there. Or sort of created.
Anyway, so I'm trying to figure that out. Once I figure out, you should be able to, you know,
House is
take care of it.
Then the start.
You guys want me to
So then I just put lines.
create?
Yeah, the markdown has like certain. There's a hashtag, or things, a hashtag, and you can use all the lines. But I added it.
That's making it.
It's not gonna be, but,
Not deep.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
And say, that's gonna pass. So when I'm
So then once you have
I think. Read the first one.
So here,
Yeah, because of the geometry.
Continue.
I Google this. What is it?
remember we did like,
They did not ask me. They
more than a few people that marks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you can try that. I somewhere in the
And then I.
front of center doing
Whatever. I guess I can do x-axis.
I guess this slide and this are.
I just wanted to change the name. It's a comparison. It's correct. Just like, I made a new one.
So it's just the X here.
Why do you need X there?
I looked at it.
No.
Should I do, X-ray? Oh, it worked. Thank you. Nice. All right, and then I should be able to copy this with the rest and show it in the same graph, right? I think so. Okay, thank you. All right. Wow, this guy fucked up. You see how big that error bar is? You got a 13. And then it's like, no, that's actually okay.
This means nothing to me, so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Mongo. Yeah, but remember over here, like, we had to bring it back out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
No, sorry, this is the previous.
Yeah.
But you can only use it.
I didn't know what I did.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Barely
that's-
used a lot of it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, then all the scripts. Then I can.
Okay, let's start. So, can someone verify the video is still going fine?
Yeah.
Um, so we looked at a couple of things, and the key concept learning right now was if-else statement and how that works, right? So nested if-else statement, right? So practical use of this is, let's say you have an app for loan approval or something. If user does this on your website, then send it here or to this page, or if this happens, then pop this up, right? Let's say you fill it a form or something of that nature, and at the end you do this, then make this happen or show this on the screen. That's kind of a practical use of using things like this. So in typical loan application scenario, you would have your business give you a requirement like this, right? So it will say, okay, well, look at the range of income range, see if debt to income ratio is less than 50%. Then it's greater than 50%, then don't give the loan. Less than equal to 50%, then give the loan. Look at all these things. And total years in current job, if less than 1 year, don't give the loan. More than 5 years, yes. Between 1 to 5, then look at the credit, look at the criminal record. If it's there's no criminal record, then give the loan. If there is a criminal record, then don't give the loan. Anyways, then for these different criteria, right? So this, if you wanted to create an FL statement that would capture all these things, and at the end of it say, okay, well, I'm going to give you a loan or not, or at those stages it tells you whether you should give a loan or not. Then let's see how that can actually be done. So we're going to do it with JavaScript and make sure that we have first of all, we don't have to do it with JavaScript, because if you do it with JavaScript, then what you would do is basically, what would you do if you did this with same thing with JavaScript? Anyone, Lauren, what would you do if you had to do this with JavaScript versus no JavaScript? I mean, sorry, a file, JavaScript file, not with this.
HTML file?
With that, yeah, versus everything in the HTML file. What would you do? Right now, if
I don't know.
was
Sorry, I don't know what I would use a Java file.
no JavaScript, like not Java.
Oh, inspect element.
That's true, but what I'm asking is, sorry, I didn't frame the question right. You see this page. If I open this page, it will open up and it will give me what I want to do. But I want to do it in a way that I don't want to write this code in a single file. What would I do?
You don't want to write it in a single file? I'm just confused. Can you tell me the answer? I'm sorry. I think I'm just
Anyone wants to give the answer? Like, what would we do? We don't want to just do everything in the same file.
If we wanted to separate or create a function like HTML
Create a-
code, we do a new class.
In the script, you can type and then you
Was that
point it to the source of the Java.
correct? Yeah. So you create a app.js or some kind of .js file. Put this code, the script code in there, and then so all of this code will go in a separate file, and all you will do is reference that file here.
Okay. The app.js with the underscore name, underscore, close parentheses.
No, that's not. That's you're
Whatever,
mixing
have yourself like it
concepts.
looks good, right?
Yeah.
So-
May I
Yeah.
have a question?
Yes.
So if, what if the code is very huge, can you break it into two, more than one app.js file and call it?
In a class.
If those are exclusive scenarios, yes.
But like, what is the syntax for that?
Oh.
What do you mean?
What is the syntax?
You will have another script. So you will have one script and all this in one .js file, and then you will open up another script. So open up script, and then close the script. Yeah. So write that and then close the script. You'll have a second file in there, right? So here you will have the second. Okay. So you will have your file in here, the second file over source equal to. Yeah, so you can't really break the same, like you can't do half of this code here and half of the code in something else. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that, and that's probably the case. Okay, so let's just look at how that becomes here. So we're going to take and we'll look at interactive Java code where we'll get the input from the user to give what the income is. But here we're just statically defining the income to be 25,000. So and then if I run this code, which is basically, let's just first look at what happens if I run the code. I'm source code, sorry. Okay. Here, I decided to give a loan. Okay. And if I go back to my code, income was 25,000. The debt to income ratio was 0.5. Years in job was 3. No, there was no criminal record. Okay. That was the condition. So we know if income is less than 30,000, which will be true, look at the debt to income ratio, less than 0.5, which will be false. So we move on here. We say else console loan, right? So get the loan if your income is less than. So let's go back here. And income range less than $25,000. So it would not go anywhere here. So we'll just move to this decision tree. Here, debt to income ratio, you're saying less than 0.5, then don't give the loan. If you have greater than or equal to 0.5, then give the loan. Here we have 0.5. So it's equal to 0.5 and hence the loan is given, right? So similarly, you can keep coding for other trees. So you will go from the lowest possible scenario to the highest possible scenario in this case. In this, you will have multiple if-else statements because we have to look at, and this is part of this if statement, the huge if statement that we have. We have else if income is greater than 30 and less than, and condition again, income is less than 75. Look at how many years in job. Console.log no loan. If it's less than 1, if it's more than 1, then get the loan. So if it's less than 1, then no loan, else loan. Then if criminal record, actually, do we have to, what's that?
So the based on, it will, for that one, it's based on how it's indented. Okay, gotcha.
Let's try something, okay? If I have 4 years of experience, and if I have 55,000, this is 0.3, and let's see what happens. And then inspect console, and I'll get a loan. If I had $25,000 income and my debt to income ratio of 0.6, I shouldn't, 0.55 even, I shouldn't get the loan. We don't know. Interesting.
Just refresh.
Less than 25, greater than should be no loan. $25,000, maybe. Let me check. 164, no criminal record. It's greater than 10. Yes, and look at that. Okay, this guy. Interesting. I have no idea why this is not compiling right now. Okay, guys. Let's debug. So, net income is less than 5. It should pick no loan. Less than 5. It should. I see. I'm making a mistake. If it's 0.4, then it will be no loan. Because what we're saying is debt to income ratio is so debt to income. In my mind, let's see first. If I do this, there could be a potential error, but let's first make sure that it's no loan. Okay. So they're saying if I have, that doesn't make sense actually, because if I have, it should be the other way around, which I thought it should be the other way around. But the diagram here, let's see what the diagram here
You implemented it correctly. The logic given in the diagram
is wrong. Yeah, it's bad. I wouldn't give a loan if
Exactly.
I wouldn't give a loan if it's 0.6. Yeah. If it's 0.4, then I'll give the loan. But you get the point, right? I mean, of course, this logic is a little nasty, but the implementation should be good, right?
That would cause another recession.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, well, that we can change that. So, how would you change it, Safwan? Come on, let's make this country recession proof. Tell me, what would you do? What would you change to make it right?
Oh, the debt to income ratio, right?
Right.
If you look into that flow chart over there, you need to swap those two things.
Tell me what should I change here?
Like here in the school.
That's a good problem to solve.
Okay, if debt to income ratio is greater than 0.5.
Where? Here?
At the same time,
Yeah, exactly. Greater than 0.5. That should change everything. Now, if I run this, I'll say no loan. I'm confused. It should say, what should it say? Loan? Okay.
Yay!
Okay. So you get the point. That's good. We found something that, so see, this is exactly what would happen, right? So you would try to debug something and, because you're a data scientist and you're trying to figure out something. It's exactly the process happens. Somebody codes something and it's given specifications. Someone makes a minor mistake and then you're trying to analyze the data, right? All these loan amounts that were given to all these people, you go back and you say, hey, why are we doing this? And that's the job of a data scientist, right? To observe the data and say, that doesn't seem right. Something is wrong. And then you go back and you say, well, you don't even want to wait for the front end guy or the JavaScript guy to show up, right? If you have access, you should just go and change it because you don't want to give those loans out until this guy comes back. So this is how you will actually use it in the real-time scenario, right? When you're looking at JavaScript, someone else's code. It doesn't make sense, but that was a good example of things. And actually, there needs to be more code here, right? So years in job 1, less than 1. So maybe it's not complete because what scenario is not covered here? Can someone tell me there is a scenario that's not covered? So between this diagram and this code here, there is a scenario missing. What is the scenario that's missing? You guys have this code on your computer, right?
No.
No. Okay.
Go back to the diagram one more time.
There's some scenario that's not covered.
Well,
So let's look at this, right? So
it's the years in job.
yeah, so if I make this $32,000, right now we've fixed the code. If I keep it, it doesn't even really matter because it's just going to look at this. And if I say enter between this, if I say I have 6 years of experience, okay. Should I give this person loan or no loan?
They have good credit.
No, wait. If I have less than 1 year, so if I have 0.5 years experience. And
No loan.
what should I do? What is missing? So if I have this, should I give this person loan? I have to check for the credit, right? I'm not checking for the credit.
Well,
In the program, I'm not checking for the credit. You see what I'm
they
saying?
have to additionally do that.
Yeah, because if it's less than 1, you can't just say no loan. If it's less than 1, oh, 1 to 5. Yeah, so 1 to 5 scenario is not covered, basically. 1 to 5 scenario is not covered. If I had 4 years of experience, I'm not checking for that. For greater than 5, I'm not checking for that. Just if it's more than 1, I'm just saying go give the loan. The 1 to 4, I'm not checking for
You
that.
just check for good credit.
Correct. You did not check for the good credit. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know,
So-
the flow chart, shouldn't that criminal record, whether the person has a criminal record or not, shouldn't it not even be a condition? Like, if he has, only then we can go to the other two.
No, but that would work out of this first parameter up here, right? If the person makes more than 75K, then I don't even care. I'm going to give the loan only on one condition, that is whether the criminal record exists or not. Right? I don't
This
care
is
about.
making sense to me.
Okay, good.
I just feel good about that. Oh my God. Never, nothing. It's just,
Okay.
I always struggle.
Okay. Is everyone like kind of getting this as well? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, being able to kind of trace it with an image really helps. You know?
Yeah. So
That-
that's a good point. So remember, actually, as a data scientist, or like if you're like working in this field as a project manager or a business analyst or someone like that, your job will be to go to the business stakeholders, the guy who decides, the lending officer, the chief lending officer, and then ask him, hey, how, this is what you develop, right? So even as a data scientist, you don't have to go and code the JavaScript. That's going to be someone on the team there, hopefully, like if you work for a big enough company, you wouldn't even have access to do these kind of things, right? You would just basically gather the requirements or understand these workflows. If one thing we don't have mostly in companies is documentation like this, right? So you will have to then resort to reading the code that somebody has written to understand what the requirements are. And that's why we're learning all these things. So a lot of times you walk in to say, I don't know, I didn't document that. Or it changes so often that documentation is not available. Right, then what's your source of truth? Is to go read the code. and figure out what's going on. And that's why you have all these learning tools now to understand so you're not stuck in that scenario.
Basically, yeah, like, so anybody that's in, has seen these before, like, you'll know how it works, but for like what I do, for example, makes it easier for me to read it, actually, the code, because I'm used to seeing and writing these, and then give it to a developer and be like, okay, I'll also have requirements, but they'll have that, I have to do that visual too, so now I'm like, okay, with this, if it's nested, like with these, you go left, right, or whatever, it's just easier.
Right, so, yeah, so that brings me to another thing, like, a lot of times you would go in and you'll read all this code. I would highly recommend that to create your own cheat sheets, right? So when you're doing data analysis, you know all these requirements and conditions, because mostly the dashboards that you will be asked to do is, hey, tell me how many people got rejected because of what reason. So if our chief lending officer suddenly comes and decides, hey, you know what, we're not giving away much loans, I want to start giving away more loans. So then you can tell, hey, most of our applicants are really actually coming from this bucket, less than 30,000. So if we relax our requirement on how we lend to those people that make less than $30,000, then we have more chances for lending more money, because we just have more money and we want to get that money out and make use of it. So if we could add something other than just debt to income ratio, and also look at, well, can I get a collateral, right? So if I can get the car or like house or something, availability of collateral, another condition. If this condition, no loan condition, instead of 0.5, then check the collateral and then see if yes, collateral, then give the loan now. So if you expand this tree, then you would, so you would soon be helping make the strategy go in the right direction. That's something to keep in mind. Now there's another example, and actually now looking at this, I would like you guys to solve this bonus example. Okay, so work with your team. Team as in, sorry, your part, like the person you're sitting next to, and just make sure that our person from, like, you can make teams of up to 3 people, and try this second image, which is bonus. Yeah. So wait. Oh wait, that was the workflow for this thing. So let me check. No, I made an error actually. This one is the workflow for the one that we looked at. But what I can do is I can give you this code, and I want you to add that condition for 1 to 4. Okay. So work with someone. Let me give you this code. I'm going to give you this code, and you have to code for the missing piece. So this was the one that we looked at. This is the code I'm giving you. And I want you guys to add that 1 to 5. And then test it if it works. Resources.
We're going to be working in the loan approver then, right?
You're working in the bonus file. Bonus file. Okay, so you will start typically by putting your code right here. Okay, the one that I just sent. And for that, we don't have this condition covered. So this is the code that I gave you, where it's less than 1 or get greater than 1. Okay, but we're going to add that whole new tree of or 1 to 4. Okay. So work with someone that.
Let's do the app.js thing.
Yeah, if you want to try it, you don't have to. You can just, as I showed you. So this is the one that I just gave you. This is what you're coding for, and give it 10 minutes maybe.
So you have to change, right, a new operation, it says like, it's larger than one, and it's smaller than five. smaller.
Yeah. Wait, which one?
We're using the hard one. Not, we're doing this one, not the other one. Yeah, no, we're doing this one. My bad. I was like, oh, it was easy. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
We just want to program. I just get the program for it. And like I meant to just point out that I don't think our card is there too, so we can go and do that if we want to.
Yeah. Yeah, download it.
Yeah. Tricky. And who's done? Who got the output? Which groups have gotten the output? No? Come on. No one has the output ready?
Hold on, just a minute.
Okay. Those who haven't got the solution should at least try have the solution up there. Or at least try out.
Almost there, you got.
Okay.
Look, is the solution chicken? Oh, over there.
Because it broke here, where it kept going.
It's not, I don't think it's a trap, I know it's a trap. Or I don't think that. Like, I didn't research their name, like when I first talked to them.
Yeah.
I just, do I nest it underneath the income if the loan is true?
Was that,
Okay. So.
you asking?
Sometimes right.
Yeah.
I feel like if this part would go, it'd be like, and blah, is true. But if it nested, obviously, this rent is like $32, so it's income. And they're still qualified for a loan, so it goes to the next thing, but I'm also, but is it nested underneath? The
No.
loan is true?
No.
It's outside.
It is.
In addition.
So go back to the diagram.
So
It's at the same level, it's at the same level. It's at the lower level and it's at the lower level.
Okay, so
So-
okay.
So the takeaway here is really, this is not, did you get the output? You guys get the output? Yeah. If you have to be really strategic in how you're gonna place your code in, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you make any mistake or if you don't nest the loop correctly, it's not going to work. What do you want to see? Oh, the picture. Okay, we'll slack out the code, but the takeaway here is editing something can be sometimes more difficult if it's written by someone else than just writing your fresh code. Okay, So you will experience this. I don't know if you've experienced this in programming. So when you'll see someone else's code that's not indented properly, not commented properly, it will drive you nuts. And so when you do it, make sure that you comment it properly. In fact, the more comments you use on every line or after every line, of course, not in nested if, it will make it more difficult. But a beautifully indented code will tell you where these statement end, and then the new else if starts, right? So this is a new else if completely. If this, for example, if this doesn't satisfy, then this will satisfy. And if that doesn't satisfy, then something else will satisfy, and so on and so forth. So just make sure that you're also clean in writing these codes. Let's move on to arrays. One of the concepts again that is critical for us to understand, and then that will build into for loops and other things. So let's look at this. And this one, okay. First of all, we are using the Bootstrap here with all the JavaScript functions as well. So here's an example how everything will exist together. Here we have this style.jss, which will basically style our sheet, call MD6, call MD offset 3, medium 6 columns, all that stuff with that we looked at already. But look at the arrays. Okay, so these are multiple ways of defining arrays. So first is letters arrays, right? And so we have A, B, C, D. Couple of key things. Again, printing, you know how it works. Printing arrays is also possible. It will just print the arrays. Okay. So that's again console.log, but again, you don't have these double quotes to close it. Indexing items. So in an array, the first letter is what? The letter 0, right? So letters array, call this letters array, and then give the 0th element. That would be what? What would be the 0th element here? Sid, what is the 0th element on in the array? 8, letter 8. Okay, and then B and so on and so forth. And then you can, I mean, this is again assigning the array elements to different variables and so on and so forth. And then you are printing those elements. Okay. One of the key things, it's called dot push. And dot push will add to an existing array. So dot push E will add to the array, and dot pop will remove from the array. We don't see that here, but dot pop is something that takes an element away. And you don't have to give a so for example, if we add here, we'll run this and then I'll run it with pop, so you will see how it works. But that's something that you need to know as well. Like if you want to remove one of the elements from it. And again, console.log is your friend. It will help you print. It's just as print. What else do you need to know? We will look at first three is called slice. So you can slice the array the way you want. You can slice for just one thing. You can slice from 0 to 3. You can go right in the middle and slice in the middle. As the word suggests, slice is just giving you different sections of your arrays. Okay? Again, printing those slice arrays, printing this double, just equal to sign just for the aesthetic reasons. Joining arrays, if you want to have 2 or more arrays together. We'll see how that works when we run it, and also join with this text. Sound of music, string. This is just a string, JavaScript string, basically character, and then you can, this is a string, and the string, indexing to access string characters. So sound of music, 0th and 5th, so it will give you which fifth 0th is use, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th is A, and so on and so forth. I guess that's about it. So what we're looking at here is split a string into arrays. You can definitely split a string. So let's look at the let's look at the output and then look at the code. That will probably bring in a little more clarity. So if I were to go ahead and run this, which is from here, look a little fancier and normal. Okay, open console. This is because we have a styling sheet, right? Inspect console. And so now let me open the and now let's start looking at this guy. Yeah. Okay. So the first one was array of letters. So here is the an array of letters. So it printed all these after we pushed. Because I've compiled the whole code. It's giving you all of the elements of this, right? So when we're looking at push and pop, I'm going to try a pop here and see if it works. So if I pop it, it will take the last element out of it, right? So let's do that. Pop. And this. Go back to the index HTML to run it here. Open default browser. Look at it from. Look at the console. And if I do this, I ran it once. And so what happened here? Can someone explain what happened here? If you have understood the concept of pop, you can tell me what happened here. So my program ran itself, and it actually, so it was adding E and F. So it was pushing E and F. Right here, I had pushed E and pushed F. But I did push E and pop. And it printed only 4. Why did that happen? Absolutely correct. So it pushed the E and then popped the E out. Right? So that's what happened there. You see the original array back to that. Okay. So that might be useful. What else? So use indexing arrays. So let's see. So here the first letter is A, the second letter is B. That's why this happens. Push an item to an array here. That didn't work because, of course, we pushed the E and popped the E back. So you slice to return the things. Slice 1, slice
returns things.
yes, because you have it here to return it. So if you have a slice, I'm then going to say console dot log slice array 1, and then that will give me this output here. That should be, so it's giving me everything. The slice 1 is giving me everything after the first element. So the first element is B. Right? So slice 1 is 1. Slice 1 means from 1 onwards, give me everything, right? So give me B, C, and D. So it's not just giving you that one element. Okay? It's almost like 1 to infinity, right? So that slice means start with 1 and give me everything out from there. These are just minor things. I mean, but of course, that's like you know how we looked at iLock and we would do 1 and then 2 dots and it would give us everything. It's the same thing. You say 1 and then it gives us everything on the right side up to the end. 0 to 3, of course, will be A, B, C. 1 to 3 will be B, C, D, right? and then it prints that. So anyways, do you guys have this code?
No.
No, okay. I think you'll get it, but in the Slack instructions. But I think this is how you can look at any behavior of any JavaScript. Also, like if you have a web page that has a JavaScript and you want to see what that JavaScript is doing, you should start trying this with different websites that you see out there, just to get familiar with it. Remember when we started with HTML, it was a lot of concepts and a lot of things, and then we looked at Bootstrap and we tried to find websites that had Bootstrap, and then we looked at how that was used. I'm sure that almost every website out there has it. So
Any website that has that and limits console sources, I think that's made of JavaScript.
yeah, I mean, if console has different things that they're doing, they're more interactive. So it will pop and say, give me this or give me that input. And then once you press it, it is in action. So that's that. But these indexing functions are super useful, and you will see why, because yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not totally sure on how slicing works. So slicing the number in the parentheses, just asking how many elements from the array you want to see.
No, this is so basically so slide. Oh, green is difficult to see from back, so I'm going to use. Let me see, there's black there. Thanks for stopping me, Chris, because this is where I don't want any misunderstandings of. So this is your slice, and when I say one, right? It actually is in Python saying almost like one and colon, right? Give me everything from that first element to the end. For example, if my array was A, B, C, and D, saying that slice one is this is 0th element, B, C, D. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So give me all these elements here. Okay. So, and then other things are pretty simple. So slice of 0, 3 is 0th element, first element, second element, so on and so forth. Okay? Thank you. Okay. What else? So if you look at where were we? Let's do an exercise, because that would give you an. And I'll slide this code to you. But let's go through actually a couple of things which I want to cover, the for loops. And then we can do an exercise where you can use all these concepts, and that will be much easier for you to test. So if you've solved, you probably have this code, right? Do you wanna bring this code up on your? So we're not getting a lot of hands-on stuff, but at least I want you guys to follow it with me. Okay. So if you have that code, please bring it up. And I'm actually going to start asking questions here. So we're learning for loop here. We have this JavaScript, and I don't. Okay. So my HTML is here, right? So why do I have this static /js/ index.js? Paulina, why do I have this static /js? Why am I using that instead of just giving index.js? Correct, but why can't I just do this? Anyone? Why? Yes, Zach?
It's in the static JS folder.
Correct. So because you have to give the absolute path where the file is coming from. And in this case, the file is in static folder and then JS folder. So the static, JS, and then this. And so as you start typing, it starts giving you the path. That's the beauty of Visual Studio. But anyway, so this is where the file is. you're right, Paulina, though, we're doing that because we have another file. And so this is a classic for loop, okay? Again, doesn't change much, but those who have done C, C++, in Python we say for whatever. For books, in book, the arrays and stuff, we iterate. Here, this is C, C++ dates, right? And that's how it started. Variable, you have to initialize it to 0, let's say. You can initialize it to 1, you can initialize it to 2, whatever that is. So I is typically used as, it's not necessary that you call it I, you can call it C, you can call it B, whatever letter you want, and you can iterate to that letter. Mostly you will see in programming, it will be I. Okay? People use I as the integer or whatever that iterates to. And then 0, and then here we're saying go from 0 to less than 10, which means 9. Okay, I plus plus moves it to the next value. Okay, and then console.log is going to give you print iteration and then print value of I. So I want you guys to actually tell me what would be the output of this. Lauren, what would the output of this?
Just go to the next one.
Okay, so first, what would print? Okay, so it will say literally iteration, space number, and then 0. Okay. Iteration, number, and so on and so forth. Okay. What's that? No, it's not infinity loop. Where would it stop? Anyone? 9, because it's less than 10. Okay, we'll stop at 9. What we are increasing?
It's plus plus.
Yeah, plus plus.
Well, then it would, yeah, but how many times would it increase? Do we have to specify how many times we're increasing?
No, it always increases by 1. Okay, so we'll go to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This middle stuff, so it starts with here. This middle is until it says for I starting at 0 until it's less than 10. Keep going and then print. Okay. Is that clear? Everyone clear on this? Okay. Looping through an array, right? So this is like the same thing. These are like looping through a list. But the syntax is almost similar. You can call it whatever. J equal to 0. For j less than student.length. So length of a list or length of this array, in this case, is can be found by dot length, right? So whatever array you have, dot length will give you the length of that particular array. Okay, so when you're talking to a JavaScript guy that has never done Python, list may be like a little more uncomfortable. He may say, well, what do you mean? Right? It's the same thing as an array. Okay, so you just need to know these technical names, and so going through this, what will it print? Helen, what will this print? The second for loop. Can you see it? Too much. Okay. What will this print? Second here. It will print 4, number 4. Okay. Yeah, we'll start with 0, so it will print what though? Yeah, let her try. Let's see. Yeah, number 3. Wait. So I want you to think with me, right? So I'm saying students, and J is a number that goes in here, right? So student and 0, right? And this will become a student and 0. But what's the 0th element in student?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Johnny. So print the names of the students, right? Exactly. So good. So it is actually going to print the name, and so this is a trick that we use, right? So we say j equals to 0 because we know that the way to get the elements of the array is by invoking this particular thing. So if we run this, we'll actually get the. Is everyone clear on that? I actually get the names of the students. So these are very crucial concepts. Okay, for loops is if you're going to interview for a programming or any position that is involved with programming, you will be asked to write the for loop. They won't care if you don't do these semicolons. Okay, they won't care about that. But if you can verbally at least say, oh well, I'll do j equal to 0, somewhere around j plus plus. Even if you get close to that, they would know that you've done, you know this, or you can understand this. If you're a programmer, they're going to ask you to write this and show an output to you, to the person who's looking at it. Okay, they'll ask you things like how would you get the third element, and then depending on how much programming you will do every day, they will ask you other things. So, anyways, so that's. By the way, is anyone still doing HackerRank? Anyone still on that website? Trying? Okay, good. Good. Yeah, it's a good way of keeping your skills up to date. As I told you, like if you're interviewing with fan companies, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, they will definitely, Amazon, they will definitely ask you to code on a remote desktop, where they would also sometimes ask you to be on a video, so you can't really have someone else recording, and they will watch your eye movements to see if you're not like looking for help somewhere, so just be aware of that and really take it.
They watch your eye movement for when they're.
Yeah, like you will start, there is a video, or they will say, when you're doing this, do this offline, but send us a video of you doing it. And so of course, if you have something else, like every time you're looking at a cheat sheet, they know that you're looking at a cheat sheet. Because they will watch your eyes go somewhere. Yes.
What's the name of the software that does that?
HackerRank.
No, the eye tracking software.
Huh. I don't know. They just watch the video of you doing it.
I think
No. They just watch your. They go and they actually open up your submission and they look at it and they say, oh, no, he was copying.
I think they use this in the initial process of.
Correct. Yeah, they would these days. These ad companies will just give you a call. The recruiter will give you a call, looking at your LinkedIn profile, and then talk to you for 15 minutes and ask for your salary expectation. The key point he wants to know is your salary expectation. Yeah. If it matches within the bracket, they might as well have bots do this, because sometimes I feel like people calling don't add anything to the value, and people that have gone through this process, it's like they just basically are told to do the next thing, right? So just go and have them send this automated email. I think they just click the process button at the other end and then just send them the email. Then you submit your video. If you do, then they will look at it. And there might be an eye tracking software involved. I don't know. Like, I'm sure that somebody has automated it, so you don't have to do these things. Anyway, so that's what this will do. So let's see, now we have successfully decoded what this will do. Let's see if it actually does it. So I'm going to go here and look at this thing. And yes, it did. Iteration 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as we expected. And then Johnny, Tyler, Bodhi, and Papas. Okay. So we successfully figured out how to do it. I know these initial concept building times are little monotonous, or if you have done this, it's like, oh man, come on, let's move on. But we're just trying to build these concepts, reinforce these concepts so that we can start using them at an advanced level. So I'm glad that we are not rushing to this part, because this is lifetime learning, I would say, for some people that haven't had this exposure before. Anyway, so that was your loops, for loops. Let's see. The next one is actually an exercise. To be honest, I feel like I want to skip that, give you functions, okay? Once I'm done with functions, I want you to try these two exercises at home. The movie scores one, and then the stats function one, okay? It's a little more advanced coding, but I trust me, with enough knowledge on where to go, what to look for, you guys should be able to do these two things in your free time. And we'll do a review of these when we come back, okay? So even if you did not understand something, even if you didn't do anything, even if you did not understand something, we can go through it. So let's just quickly go through functions. Is everyone clear on these kind of concepts? Loops are very, very, very important in JavaScript. So just want to make sure that you have that. Share this, we'll make it a little more readable here. And feel free to follow along. So first of all, again, revision time, right? So looking at functions in Python, you had def define, right? And then you have the function name, brackets, and if it has variables or if it takes arguments, these are called arguments, then you take those and then you'll do the operation whatever you want. User list, you'll take user list in and then I in user list, and it will treat stuff. This is how just Python works. Much more easier, and you will see the difference of and the power of Python. It's very simple, easy, less word heavy, much cleaner looking. I mean, it's a really beautiful language. Then you go to JavaScript and you immediately see, oh my God, there is more to it that Python is definitely taking out, right? So those curly braces, that all the semicolon stuff, but conceptually, it's not much different, right? So def, define, and then function name is the same, right? And then everything has that, instead of those two dots that Python uses, you have these open curly brace and then it closes itself. And then print, instead of print, you have console.log. Okay? So this will become your print hello statement. If you want to do an addition, return a plus b, it remains the same, but what gets added is this semicolon and these curly braces. Okay, so that's the difference between Python and JavaScript. Run the code in print hello function. So this is how you evoke a function. I'll basically call the function print hello and print hello there. Okay, so this is the first output that we will see on our console. Console log. So look how the addition function gets evoked. It gets evoked within the console.log, which says these are my two parameters, 44 plus 50, and then it will return 94 as the output, and that's what you will see. Okay, so this is doing that. I'm going a little fast. Please slow me down if you don't understand something, or if you need more explanation. So for list, let's look at how Python does that. So where is that? So for Python, the list is for I in, and it just tells you, okay, well, go to this list. So here, for I in user list, print I, and here you pretty much do the same, but you're saying get the user list, and then variable I equal to 0, and then you say user list length. So what's the length of this user list? I plus plus. So this is a completely revolutionized way of doing this in Python, because it completely removes the way you have had to write that whole thing. But in the compiler of Python, it somehow is doing similar things that that have made it easy. And then print all the user lists, right? So that's something that remains almost the same, right? Print user list. Friends and so on. You have double addition where you say, well, this is what you have to. So let's go back to the Python code. We look at. So looking at here, define double addition as total of C and D into 2 and return this. Okay, so addition is basically what? Why? Because you're calling a function within a function. You know, you're saying double addition. You already know the addition into 2. So addition is a function that we had previously defined, and then we're leveraging that function to define this function. Almost similar way of doing it. You can say you can leverage the function that we had up there into 2 and then return the total the variable that you define. So I keep doing that, but really. So where am I? Right here, this one. So that's that. Okay, Python, all the functions below print hello, and we're just calling these functions. List loop friends, so it will loop through. Do we look at loop? List loop. List loop is basically going through loop. We did look at that as well. So that's that. Is that? Yeah, this is a list. This is a list. Right? I mean, it's an array, whatever that is. And list loop function is basically going through the every single element of that list. Okay, so we looked at that just now.
So we won't do for this and this,
Which-
for X and something. We don't do this difference, list whatever.
So that's calling the function, right? So calling function is different than writing the function.
Oh, just define.
We had defined the function called list loop, right? And whatever list that is. So here what we're calling, this is defining the function. We define the function. Now we're calling the function right here. So if you see variable friends is a list, is a user list. That so when we pass this list friends to this function, it takes that and it will print what? Sarah, Cindy, Sarah, Greg, Cindy, and Jeff. Okay, in that order. So just two different things happening there. Hope everyone's clear on that one.
Do we have to rename it friends up there?
No, we don't. Because you can call it user list. You don't have to. It doesn't matter what you call here. As long as you consistently use it here and consistently use it here.
But how do we know the user list is connected to this variable friends?
Because we just called it.
Oh, just
This is
list.
a list loop. We just evoked it. Now this is a function. Okay.
Okay, I see. I missed that part.
Okay. So yeah, I know it's we're almost approaching end of the class, but just pay attention here. So can you tell me what would be the answer for this double addition 3,4? Jillian, what would be the answer of this double addition 3,4? Huh?
14.
Yes. Okay, how did you get that? Because
3 plus 4,
7
7
times 2, 14. Okay, good. So you have this is kind of an example of you can use functions within a function, reusable function. So for example, you get it? Yeah. It's very useful because you often end up using these kind of things where you have, let's say you have a calculation to decide mortgage rate, right? And then use that mortgage rate to actually calculate the mortgage amounts, right? So mortgage rate calculation, how to decide what the mortgage rate would be a function, and then you will evoke that function somewhere else to actually, when the user inputs their amount of mortgage needed, you will calculate 20% down, all that stuff, or whatever. So these functions within functions are very useful when you build these. Anyways,
crunch a lot more information.
yeah, and then what happens really is it's easier to maintain that code, right? So if your final mortgage calculations remains the same, but your mortgage rate calculation changes, then you just go change the function for that, and then you can have that logical separation. Anyways, so built-in functions, there is long decimal. This is just basically rounding the decimal, right? So if I have this, it will round the decimal, and so on and so forth. So let's run this and see how it works. We should.
What is the mask?
It's just a way of calling or evoking like how console is a function, library function that helps you do console.log. This floor function lets you do it's just a way of calling the floor function. Basically finding what the if you want the decimal out of this, like rounded, then you will have to call it like this. I mean, that's the only explanation. I mean, if you're asking how console is just a syntax type that helps you do console activities. And there is console.input, console.log, math-related activities, math.floor, and so on and so forth.
Is math a built-in function?
Yeah, it's a built-in function. It's kind of a built-in function, yes, you're right.
Log and floor, those are all.
Log and floor, actually log and floors are functions. Math and consoles are like libraries in Python. So if you have a library dot function, that's a library, math library, and floor is a function in it. Console is a library, and log is a function in it.
Okay.
It's a lot like saying pandas.dataFrame.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
Mhm.
okay.
It's the defined, it's a predefined library that we have to import. But you don't have to import these things. They're already there when JavaScript is.
So we don't have to import libraries into JavaScript.
You do not have to import
Math or console. There are other libraries that people might have written. So look, libraries and consoles. So some things come prepackaged, some things you can add, right? So people have written libraries out there that you can import. D3 is one of such set of libraries that has lots of functions in it. And then when we install D3, when we use evoke D3, we are using those libraries. The same concept in programming. Python is a programming language. Pandas is a library. Pandas library has packages that get updated every 20 days maybe, or even more often. So let's look at this and then we'll call it a day. But this is what it did. Floor basically removed everything that was after the decimal point, gave us the integer. This listed we added 44, the return addition function had 44 plus 50, 94. And then 14 is really the, what was 14? 7, 3 plus 4, what Jillian said, 3 plus 4 into 2. So it did whatever we needed to do. With that, I'm going to end the class today. If Nolan, you have an announcement, we'll do that. Or then you have time.
Yeah, just real quick. I announced this in homework questions, but I'll announce it here as well.